All right, gentlemen, welcome back to the Hockey Hoser Show.
Take
I'm your
off,
host,
eh? I don't have an intro
Dave.
yet.
We got James, we got Logan on the panel here. We're gonna have a great show for you guys today. First things first, I want to start off with, did Robertson try to free up a roster spot by killing William Nylander?
Honestly, when you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Like,
Uh,
there's not many spots that, they just acquired Pacioretty. There's not a lot of
hmm
spots on that lineup, and Robertson is basically this year he needs to show it if he wants to hang around the
hmm
league and get a big contract for himself.
I
You
mean,
know,
It's
Nylander
worth
switching to center.
if I was Robertson, I would have gone after Pacioretty first of all. Dude already has two bad ankles. You know that he's not going to last a while.
Pacioretty's
hmm
not a threat to him though. Nylander,
No, Nylander,
Yeah,
no
but
top six roster spot.
yeah.
He scores
Think
a
of
lot
all
of
the IR
goals.
money that can be freed too.
Exactly. This if he goes on
11
IR for like
mils.
2 months.
That Robertson, he's a smart guy. He's looking at what
Yep.
his brother's doing in Dallas, and he's like, he's on first line, scoring 40, 50 goals. Like,
He looked at how
could
Robertson
be
is
me.
currently injured and is like, "Hey, what if I did that to another player?" Also, that's
Exactly.
not a big story. Robertson is probably going to be back before the start of the season.
Did Dvorak purposely hit William Nylander in the head there?
No. Dvorak had no idea what was going
I,
on.
yeah.
It's worth
No,
noting in that game, after that incident, Robertson had a really good game. So maybe it was, and then this incident.
no, in
For
all
those who don't
seriousness,
know what happened, it was a situation where there's a quick change of possession and Montreal was going on the rush.
hmm
And you know when players try to give another player a speed boost by pushing them with their stick, like pushing them in the butt with their stick to give them a boost?
like
Nick
this.
Robertson tried doing that to William Nylander, and then William
Nylander
Nylander, who
dives
was
because he thinks the
not,
player's hitting them.
I think it was
He
just
dove.
Nylander didn't
No,
expect
he
this
dove.
and
No,
wiped
he
out.
dove. He 100% dove. There's no way Nylander, like, okay, that's what Robertson did there is actually like a pretty typical play. Like I've seen that
Yeah.
done quite a
Yeah.
bit where a teammate that's lagging behind pushes the defender to give him a speed boost to catch up. That happens
Mhm.
a lot. I Nylander could have fell, but I don't he went down pretty easy with that.
I also think
He could have
too,
been trying to draw a penalty.
Yeah.
I am thinking too, there's some situation. If I'm skating and there's a sudden burst, or like if I sudden get
That's
lurched
fair. If you're
forward,
not
it
expecting
could
it
be
and you're on
easy to
one
catch an
foot.
edge. But also, I feel the difference in that. It would be hard not to brace your impact, right?
You guys
Nylander wasn't flying at top speed. He was going half speed at the time.
You think it
that's
could be a
true.
little bit of rookie trying to make the team and veteran who's kind of already know he's on the team, but not going the whole 100%. So he kind of got caught
Nylander's
off
not
guard.
yeah,
I think
Nylander's
he
not giving his all there and Robertson is.
Yeah,
I
he's
think he
trying.
got caught off guard, but he also, as Dave said, might have gone down a little bit easy, thinking it was a Montreal player.
Dvorak hitting him in the head is just a fluke, though. That sucks.
Well,
Yeah,
Like when I saw
Dvorak
that
had
shit,
no
I was
idea what
like,
was
"Are you
going
fucking kidding me?"
on.
That reminded me of the Tavares incident in Game One of the
hmm
2021 playoffs,
Yeah,
wherein I forget it was Perry.
it was Corey
Tavares fell
Perry of
over
all
and Perry
people,
just
and
was skating by and
yeah,
just uh, human like your reaction time isn't even fast enough to register it's going on. Even if you tried to hit him
no.
in the head, you wouldn't be able to react and move your leg that fast. It was just a freak accident, both with Perry. That one so
hmm
awful, and then Robertson, Nylander,
Yeah.
Dvorak. That sucked. Do you think he'll be ready game one?
Nylander?
I actually think I got word about saw some news about this, and Nylander is already was at practice today.
Yeah.
Was he in a
So it seems
contact
like it was
training?
just precautionary, taking him out of the
That's what they
game.
said at the time. And yeah, good thing they pulled him. He could have got concussed, but I don't think it would be anything more than just a concussion.
No,
He
he
did
wasn't really
look
going
like
fast enough.
he was laying on the ice for a while though, which was a
It
little
was looking
concerning.
when he skated off the ice though, he didn't look wobbly at all, which even if it is a concussion, which would be awful, it means it's not that serious of one.
Yeah, I definitely, if I'm the Leafs, and he's not 100%, I don't play him
No.
until he is. There's just no point. Like it's
You can
not
just hold him till the start of the season if you need
this.
to.
Yeah, this isn't a team that's gonna struggle to make the playoffs. Like
Yeah.
they should be all right.
I'm
Um,
wondering why Nylander's playing games right now anyways, because he's
their
guaranteed
whole
to make the
starting
team.
lineup has played every
Yeah.
preseason game basically, except for Matthews, who's been dealing with injury. He played game one, I remember, and I think he played two. But the Leafs have just they haven't done the typical team thing where you know, throw in a bunch of rookies who might be able to make the team
Yeah.
mid-camp. They've basically been running a loaded roster since game one,
I feel
which
it
is
He's
doesn't
very
make sense for
interesting.
the Leafs as well, because the Leafs this year actually have some competition down the works. And there's a
It's
lot of competition for that bottom six. So I don't know why you wouldn't play your
it
bottom six with like all the people that could challenge to make
it's
it.
Berube. It just reeks of Berube.
Yeah.
This is his idea of like I need to get
Hmm.
these guys ready for game one. Like I'm not
That's true.
screwing around. Like we're trying to win the cup here. Like you look at like the Canadians or the Sabres or the Senators, where it's like you have a bunch of young guys who've been
Hmm.
bad for a while who you want to get a look at and see if they have a shot. Toronto's not doing that. Every guy that
Yeah.
they're looking at is on the roster right now. They
Or
don't
the
have like other
Panthers,
like yeah, there's
who are getting lit
talent
up
and
every
like
night because it's their AHL team. But
exactly. Well,
what do
Panthers
you,
is
yeah.
like who cares
Why
about
would they
Panthers
play their
fans?
guys like
Yeah,
Kachuk
I
and
mean,
all
I got a
Kachuk,
cup to
Barkov?
go drink at, you
They
know?
should still be partying right now.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I bet you a
Yeah,
lot of those Panthers guys are hungover. They probably can't do anything
Oh
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
They're
Oh
still
yeah, you
they're
kidding?
still done from the cup celebration. So like, yeah,
yeah,
we'll give you some more time to rest.
Then the flip side, you got the
yeah,
Whalers who also played till the very end and lost.
Yeah, but they didn't
That's
celebrate.
gotta
That's
suck.
why.
yeah. And then got absolutely lit up by your Calgary Flames.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah, that
go.
was.
Take that.
I
The
mean,
only victory we'll be getting against them this season, probably.
I wouldn't say that. You
It'd be kind
know,
of funny if they lose all again
Mhm.
against Calgary.
Yeah,
Calgary's gonna play spoiler, I think, right till the end. I don't
probably.
know. I
It
think
is
with
important to note about about Nick Robertson. After that happened, he did have a really good game. He was playing really hard. He
he
had a
scored a
lot of good
goal.
chances. He created that
He
goal
scored
for
a goal.
himself
Hmm.
because he caused the takeaway that led to him getting a breakaway and scoring that goal. Oh, so
He's such a unique player because you look at him and you look at his shot and some of his
yeah,
tools and his skating. You go, that's the kind of player that you'd want on your first or second line.
yeah.
But then you look at some of his decision making in the defensive zone and in the neutral zone, and you just think like, yeah, he has the tools when he receives
Mhm.
or can make a pass when he's on offense. But against the hardest matchups and other teams, like I think he's just gonna get run over.
I agree. He's got a killer shot. He looks
Yeah,
like this preseason, it looks like he's worked a lot in his skating, which was lacking. Last season, you could see so many times that his stride just couldn't keep him up with he couldn't keep up with some plays. But yeah, it is just he
it's
makes so many boneheaded decisions that keep him out of the roster.
yeah, he's in kind of a weird position because he's not like so good that you'd be like, of course he's on the first line, but he's not bad enough to be on like a fourth or a third line. I'd like to see him carry the puck more, I think. He kind of, I don't know, he seems like it. I mean, it's hard
Mhm.
when you're playing with players like Matthews or Nylander or Marner. It's like, I'm going to pass to those guys, right? But
Yeah. It's
there's a lot of
also
potential there for sure.
it's
I
hard for a
really,
player it's hard for a player who is smaller in size as well and doesn't quite have that elite level of skating
with a coach like
because
Berube
so
too,
often he
you
does
gotta you
get
gotta be
lit up.
worried. Well, yeah, like what you think you're going from Keefe to Berube on
Mhm.
that team. And it sounds like he and Keith did not get along, so he's probably thinking it's a breath of fresh air to have Berube as a coach. But still, that's a hard-nosed guy, right?
Mhm.
So if you're not really playing hard both ends of the ice, and I don't think
Yeah.
Robertson's gonna have any problem with that effort wise. But
Yeah,
yeah, his
he's never had an
skating
effort
is
problem.
no, no, he's a dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should move on to
Before we move on, I do have
sure.
a note to make. Just we've only released like a 2 minute video before this one, and we're already getting fact checked.
Let's
On what?
go.
So you remember Dave's comment about the Canadians losing the Stanley Cup in the river?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's
Apparently, that was actually the 1905 Ottawa Senators who lost in the Rideau Canal.
Dang. Well, I mean, that's on me. I should know that. 1905, that's
Shout
not
out
that long
to
ago.
shout out to my aunt who called us on that. Who
Your
doesn't watch
aunt
any
is
hockey. It was so funny because like it's someone who doesn't watch any hockey but knew that one obscure piece of knowledge.
can she like just kind of be in the background and just like fact check us as we go?
Uh you know what? I'll ask. I'm sure that'll already happen.
kind of good. Like a slipper on. She can hit James in the back of the head every time he says something wrong.
I'll be the one who hears
Yeah.
about it. It's like, oh hey
Yeah,
James, you actually got all this wrong.
so
So
I
I'm just trying to unload this and this is what a great leader does, right?
yeah
They just deflect all the mishaps onto the people they work with, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, James, this is all your fault.
Yeah, it was. It clearly was.
Shout out to your aunt though.
Yeah.
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 Glad we have someone to keep us on track. I was gonna say it's a lot easier if we just only talk about things that might happen in the future and just hot takes. No one will be
It
able to
is.
fact check us because we're not talking about stuff that actually happened. You know what I mean?
That way, if we say something dumb, we can at least stand by it as opposed to
Be
Oh,
wrong.
it being
I will, I
blatantly
will,
wrong.
I will stand by my takes until I die. Anyways, I
Yeah,
want to hit on Scoronado.
I want to hit on Scoronado as well.
Oh yeah, hey
My
bud.
This is my favorite player of the preseason right now. I'm pretty sure he's scoring like 2 points a game. I saw the stat line that between this preseason, and last preseason, he's played 8 games and he scored 12 points, which is worth noting. Through like points per game, that's more points per game than Connor McDavid. So is Matt
I understand what you're
Coronado?
saying.
I'm not gonna
Coronado
say
is
it.
better than McDavid.
Yeah,
I agree,
yeah. I
honestly. I
would
mean,
say
how many
that.
points has McDavid gotten preseason?
That's a good question. I think like
If the Stanley
two.
Cup was won in the preseason, would Coronado win the Conn Smythe?
Only if he was on the Ottawa Senators,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they always win the cup in the preseason,
hmm And then
and
lose
he'd
it
have to take it
somehow.
from Carter Yakimchuk. Oh, but it's
What? Who's Where do you see Coronado starting in the regular season?
I
First
see
line, second line.
Coronado. Uh, I think the top line was sort of set with Kadri being their top line center, which is not what you want, but we're not a team that's going to be really competing. I could see Coronado. He's going to be in that middle six. I'm not entirely sure because he'd have to beat someone. He'd have to beat someone out of the lineup. He'd have to make a convincing bid to put like Pospisil down into the fourth line. I don't think Zari has got the right skill set to play
I
down
mean,
low, and
the
Zari is going
Flames
to
can't
be
have that
middle
much depth at
six.
forward that Coronado struggles to find a spot in the top six when he's scoring
Yeah,
like this.
it would just mean that Michael Backlund or Blake Coleman takes a fourth line spot, which I could see happening.
I can see
I could
Blake
see
Coleman going down there.
I could see either of those two, like those two being the third and fourth line centers,
Yeah.
easy, and just to give space for these young guys. Especially also if Samuel Honzek keeps playing out of his mind because he's also got a whole bunch of points and he's another player. He's a player who I could really see them using this season because he's a big player who could be an aggravator, just like Pospisil.
hmm
And
Absolutely.
those are the types of players you need this season. The ones who, even if you're not going to be contending, you need to be a thorn in the other team's sides and just drive them nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, you look at the Flames and they did sell off some pieces last season and
Yeah.
stuff, but I don't look at them and think that they're going to be at the bottom of the standings because they're necessarily that bad of a team.
They
I
still
don't
have
think
too
they've
much
gotten a
talent on
lot
their team.
worse. Yeah, I think what's happened is every other team has just gotten better and
Yeah.
they haven't.
They have gotten worse. Like they have lost some key pieces. Jacob Markstrom is no longer their goalie. He had a pretty good season last year.
If they're in any other division except maybe the Central, I'd have them in last. But
Yeah, or the
the
Metro.
Pacific is brutal. Like you got the Habs in
Yeah.
that division, the teams. You got, the Oilers and the Canucks and the Golden Knights and even the Kings. Every other team though is just I have no idea what order. Like I could see the Ducks taking a step this year. They
Sort
have
of.
too
Did
much
you
talent.
John Gibson's out for like 3 to 6 months.
I think that's
You
better
have
for
to
them,
get
to
in
be
the
honest.
I
I
think it
like,
is better, but I also actually that would mean Lucas Dostal plays more games, and that would
yeah.
be better for them, actually. I don't know. You're right. That's a
Goaltending's
good
so hard
point.
to predict.
Lucas Dostal, winner of the IHF tournament this year with Czech Republic.
I
Played really well for them.
on
If
top
he
of
comes in the
Gibson,
regular season and plays very well, I could see the Ducks.
um,
I see them ahead of the Sharks, but I could see them jumping the Flames. I could see them jumping the Kraken even. Like
That's about
I
it
think
though.
the Ducks. I think the Ducks are going to take a step soon. I
on
really
the
do.
topic of Gibson,
They
if
have
he's
to.
done, I can see him being traded this year. I don't think he'll stay a Duck if he gets healthy. He's not really fitting in. He's
Mm-mm.
older.
He
He's not
still
really,
I've been hearing
doesn't.
that for years now, though.
I don't know why they've kept him for so long because they've just
uh,
ruined his trade value.
yeah, like
They
especially with
should
how
have.
well
They
Now,
should have
Lucas.
traded him. I just
like
don't think
two
the
years
offer
ago,
was ever there because he
I
was
think
always good, but the
his
market
stat line
is not really
gets
there. Goalies are weird.
he
what?
also was making $6.4 million, which is
Yeah,
hard to make space for.
and his stat line hasn't always been the best on that shitty
No,
team. Like
I feel bad for
he gets
him.
let up a lot.
He gave everything to that team, and his best days are now behind
yeah,
him.
Yeah,
I'd like to
Mhm.
see him in a backup role on a good team, I think.
And it's hard because he still has multiple years left on his contract. This is like I
Yeah,
think he has one more after this, something like that.
I can see him going though to somewhere like Chicago, where they kind of don't have a good it's like
Yeah.
Older
good
guy,
one.
that team always needs leadership.
But I
But
mean, they did,
Chicago's kind of in a similar spot as Anaheim right now
yeah,
in
but
terms of where they're trying to be. So I don't know why John Gibson would approve a trade to a team that's basically in the same spot, even though they
um,
have Bedard, which makes them
yeah.
better.
Uh, I guess it's more about coming in as a role model rather than just for his cap contracts. But
Yeah, Chicago does have loads of cap space
The
and
Duck,
would be able
well,
to take
well, I
on this
mean, to be fair,
contract.
the Ducks are, I think, are going to take a step before the Blackhawks do. I don't necessarily know if it'll be a big step this season, but I think the
Mhm.
Ducks are going to be better.
You look at their
Uh,
roster. I
I
could.
mean,
You want me to pull up? I have their daily
absolutely,
face-off if you wanted.
absolutely.
the Ducks gonna be good, but I don't think it's gonna compare anywhere close to having like Bedard on your team. Like,
No, I don't
I
think they
don't
have
think
any
the
individual
step.
players good, but
I think the step going up won't be as big of a jump as what Chicago make once Bedard used to playing in the NHL.
So
Which
I have their team here, and like you look at them, they have Zegras, McTavish, Cutter
I'm
Gauthier,
telling you,
Leo Carlson, uh, and
Vetrano
but
was
I was gonna
Vetrano was
get to him.
great
Hey, I'm
last
getting
year.
there, getting there. They got Olin
That D is
Zellweger,
rough,
Pavel
actually.
Mintyukov,
That is
Jackson
a
Lacombe. Lucas Dostal is really. I thought Lucas Dostal played pretty well last season on a terrible
that
I'm sorry,
might
team.
be the
what's his
worst
name's
decor in the
They've got
NHL,
so
actually.
they. It's not good. It's
what?
pretty bad, but they have these three young guys who are probably going to be really good
Yeah,
and
I'm
just need
surprised
to take a
actually
step. And they
Mintakov's
also do
decent.
have
I'm big.
I like their
the savior of my fantasy
yeah,
team last year,
I like their
Frank the
forward group.
Tank Vetrano.
I think their goaltending's fine, but
Yeah,
that decor is I forgot how dire that situation was.
It's I would say
yeah, it's
it's
pretty
And
terrible
bad.
now, but I think it'll be good in a couple of years.
oh,
It,
totally, absolutely.
Owen Zellweger is gonna be good. Mintakov's
Zellweger's gonna be
awesome.
sick. I don't know if he's gonna be a number one.
No, it's to be Mintakov. I'm
no,
surprised Mintakov is starting off at line
yeah, it
three.
was weird. My point with that though was with
They should
Chicago, Chicago hasn't quite accumulated that same level
I mean,
of
they got some good
prospects
guys in
yet.
Chicago. They got
They do.
they
They
got
still have
Michael. They got what's his name on
Korchinski, Kevin
defense.
Korchinski.
Efficiency. They got the
Lev Chanel will be coming in and he's
They
gonna
have
be
good players, but they
rock.
don't quite have the same amount. Anaheim just has more. So it's the type of thing where you
Chicago has
have
the
all these
quality,
prospects here.
Anaheim has the
Chicago,
quantity.
Anaheim's just got a few more that they could
yeah.
hit on than Chicago
Absolutely.
right now.
Yeah, I'm really high on McTavish too. I think he's gonna have a good
Yeah.
year.
McTavish is gonna be awesome. The way he
McTavish was
plays is
so good
just
last year.
Do you
he
think
kind of
Zegras gets traded?
I don't know
maybe
why they trade him.
depends on how much he asks for when it comes to next contract.
They've been saying like, oh, he's on the trading block for a little bit. And it's worth noting before Troy Terry signed his extension, they kind of were doing the same thing of, hey, we're shopping Troy Terry. And then they just extended him for 7 years. And it
Yeah,
seems that since nothing's happened with
It's just all
Zegras,
these those rumors though. They never seem to go away. You
no.
I
know,
can see him being
But
on
you
the
look same
block,
with
but
John
not.
Gibson.
Yeah, I can see Zico's being on the block, but not actively being shopped. Basically saying that if you want him, come and take him. We'll see your offers,
Hmm.
but it's not like, hey, don't bother trying.
Hmm.
Like I can see some of these players, like I can see McTavish being off the block. Like you can offer them
Hmm.
anything beside the house, and they're like, nah,
No.
we'll stick with
well they've
McTavish.
accumulated
McTavish,
so
Leo
much
Carlson.
talent at
Yeah,
forward that Zegras, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they thought of the Anaheim Ducks, he was the guy, but now there's two or three guys ahead of him. Like they took a,
Hmm.
I mean,
I'm still surprised they took a forward in last year's draft. Like there were so many D
Yeah.
right there that could have been your number one guy for the Ducks, and I think Seneca's gonna be a great player,
Hmm.
I
but
think the thing was
They
forward
now
is
have
Zegers.
the McTavish and Leo Carlson as your could be your top two centers going forward. And where does that put Zegras? Because he was supposed to be their top center.
he was, but at this point, is he a better winger?
Yeah,
He probably is. And they
he's
still
not.
have so
He's
many
not
elite
big.
wingers.
He doesn't. He's not great in the defensive zone.
No,
He's really good on offense. He's one of those guys I think plays better on the wing. Like
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
so,
The one thing I
no,
will
they'll
say,
they'll be interesting to watch this year. So I want to move on to
Yeah. Well, speaking of players who might get traded, this does pain me to say it, but one very obvious trade target for this year I am looking at is Rasmus Anderson.
who wouldn't want him.
I think everyone would love him. The points about him, he ticks so many boxes. He's really good defensively. He's good offensively. He's extremely consistent. He has next to no injury history. He's also making $4.5 million this year and next.
I think that this trade, and it's gonna happen at the trade deadline. I don't under
Yeah.
unless he has a really bad year, gets hurt, which you can never predict the injury side of things.
Mhm.
But unless he has a bad year, that trade has the potential to single-handedly speed up the Calgary Flames
Yeah.
rebuild by a year or two.
I think
You
so.
could get a ransom for that player if you get a bidding war.
Yeah. Look
Consider
at
And
like
every
the
every team needs him. Every single team,
yeah.
if you put him, he's better than some right-handed defenseman
mhm.
on X team.
Consider
He's
Colorado's Matt Duchene trade, where it basically just set them up for their entire future. It expedited their rebuilds,
Yeah.
and it
absolutely.
ruined the prospect system for other teams. This trade has the potential to absolutely ruin the development system for another team.
Oh, for sure. I think that some team is going to they're
Mhm.
going to get him and it's going to cost a lot and it's going to feel great in the short term.
Yeah.
Maybe they win the cup with him, maybe they don't, but I don't see a world where Calgary doesn't at least get
Mhm.
a first round or
And
plus
Personally,
a
yeah.
good
look at
prospect.
yeah.
And personally, I have a particular team I look at is the Dallas Stars. Because right now, Dallas, they have an absolutely stacked left side with Heiskanen, Lindell,
Hmm.
Harley.
They
The
lost
right
Tanev.
side, though, is kind of thin because Anderson, right shot defenseman, their top three right-handed defensemen right now in Dallas are Matt Dumba, Eli Labushkin, and Niels Lundqvist. Rasmus
I
Anderson
mean,
is
I
instantly
think he
the best
completes that. I
defend
think
best right now.
he completes that D core. You put him number
Yeah,
one right D.
him and
He
Heiskanen together, that is a broken
that's a
defensive pair.
playoff D pair
That is a
for
coupling
sure.
defensive pair. And you
For
also
sure.
think about it. Craig Conroy last year already traded Chris Tanev to Dallas. There's previous experience between these two GMs. We've seen them trade. We've seen them trade together.
And who did Dallas lose to last year in the playoffs?
Edmonton,
Who has a lot of experience with that team?
that's true. If there's any team
Rasmus
that knows how
Anderson.
to
He knows how
Rasmus
to
Anderson
defend.
yeah,
pulls
but
up and says, "Hey, I know how to defend this McDavid guy.
yeah, but
Yeah,
sort of
I
you gotta
got you."
think
and
you gotta
Dallas
think
also does have a deep prospect pool right now.
yeah.
They
But you
have the
guys
Oh God,
pieces to make this. They have the pieces to make this trade work,
it's
and for it to be
disgusting
worth Calgary's
what they have
while.
going on in
wait,
Dallas.
before we go, I gotta get back into this topic about you thinking that Anderson definitely does, but you gotta think Edmonton knows how to beat him wide too. Like look at what they did to Tanev.
No,
Like
I don't.
That's true.
Yeah, then
like
I mean,
you gotta think
yeah,
they said that the same thing about Tanev when he came in. Like, oh, Tanev knows how to beat these guys. He's played them so
Tanev
many
doesn't have the
times.
foot speed.
That's
yeah.
true.
Right. Anderson does though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not saying Anderson can single-handedly bring down McDavid, but I think he makes
No.
that decor more competitive.
Oh
If
yeah,
you take
definitely.
Anderson and give him to the Dallas Stars last year, do they beat the Edmonton Oilers? I think no, but I think that series potentially is a little closer.
He
Mhm.
goes to game 7.
I I don't know. That
I don't know.
man, that Oilers team.
I think he went to game 6, right? Last year.
Yeah,
It did,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
yeah,
it's a one extra
one
game.
in
I
six.
think
Last year it probably should have gone to game seven as well. Stuart Skinner just had a world
yeah.
beating game in game
Stars were my
six.
cup pick last year, and man, if they go to the final, against Florida, I think that they match
Who
up
knows?
against the Panthers a little better than the Oilers did.
I
That would
think so
definitely
too.
been a goalie showdown between
That was a really weird series to evaluate because Florida kicked their ass up and down the ice in the first three games, and then the opposite happened in the second three, and then
yeah.
game seven
Yeah.
was like the only like close game
I think in
really
that
of the
series,
series.
it really was Florida physically could dominate Edmonton, and Edmonton though could in some games just outskill Florida like
Hmm.
crazy. And Dallas is a team that doesn't have quite the same level of skill as Edmonton, but you wouldn't be able to. Florida wouldn't be able to push them around the
They
same
come
way
in
they could
No.
push
the
some
star when
players
you
in
watch the
Edmonton around.
Stars, it's like they come in waves. Like every
Yeah,
single line kind of plays the same way, and there's very little space.
yeah.
Their defensive structure, their forecheck, like there's really little space. They're a fast team, they're a hard team, they're a heavy team.
Hmm.
They battle for pucks. Like I think that style is more. It's they're a little more similar to Florida than Edmonton was. Um,
Hmm.
I still think though that as far as the East goes, I don't see a team that could beat Florida in the playoffs.
No,
Like they're just built different.
I don't
I
think.
know it's a
I think
cliche to say that, but they're built differently than any other
The only
team.
thing that hurt
they
Sims, they
definitely are.
lost their power play merchants. Like both OEL and Munter left, and
That
those
is
guys
true.
helped the power play a lot. Like
Replaceable.
Ekblad's, you say that, but
I think you can replace those guys. They can pick up some guy. Hey, Anderson would look good in a Cats uniform
Anderson
Anderson
would
would
do
be a
well for that
really
every night
good
actually.
with the
fit for
Chuck.
Florida, actually.
Yeah,
Anderson would be
They
a
won their
really
cup.
good
They're
pick.
playing with house money now. They can sell the entire future of the franchise for Anderson and run it back this year, and no one would blame them.
I can really see that. I just don't know if they have quite have the pieces to make that trade work now.
That's what I'm saying. You sell
Looking at them,
everything.
yeah, their second pairing right defender is Dmitry Kulikov. Throw
He's not
Anderson in,
Kulikov
bad.
was,
throw
Anderson is better, but still,
yeah.
that's a
no,
decent decor.
Kulikov's
This is
actually
a
pretty good.
decent decor, but if you bumped Boquist down to that seventh defender and put Anderson in that second line right defender spot, that is once again a brutal defense core to play against.
I don't think Boquist is the
Absolutely.
one that needs to be. I think Schmidt
I
is the
I feel
one who
honestly,
like
needs to
yeah,
well,
I
be.
feel
yeah,
like it
looking
should
looking at
be
them, I think they're weaker on the left side than the
Yeah,
right side.
yeah,
like Kulikov's an
that's true.
absolutely killer on the ice. Like he
He
won't get
should
you
be a third
points.
pairing guy though.
I don't know. He fills up that role of the guy on the defense is gonna make your life a living hell. And those guys you kind of want on that second line. You don't want them playing minimum ice time.
Okay.
You don't
Absolutely.
think, especially in the playoffs, you
Yeah,
want the guys who set the tone,
that's true in the playoffs.
playing minimum minutes. You want the guy that's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, and you're gonna do anything to me all
You
Yeah,
want
the
throughout
it
way
to
we
be
the
the other team's going on a rush. You want that player
mhm.
that's like, I don't have the skill to defend you, but I'm gonna bury you into the ice
Yeah,
Well,
and
when we
instead.
evaluate teams for the playoffs, I think we tend to overvalue individual skill and undervalue how well a player fits in with a team's defensive structure.
Yeah.
yeah,
Playoffs are unique because you're playing the same team every night. So you can really game plan and you can really find, good coaching staff can find defensive formations or structures that can work around an opponent's forecheck or get the puck back in the zone. And, you know, if the team likes to possess the puck a lot, you can shut down those passing lanes and remove space. If a team is fast on the rush, there's lots of different things you can do. And I think a player's coachability and how well they fit in with a team's identity can often be overlooked when you just think, oh, this player is more individually skilled than this player. He would be better on
Mhm.
this team. It's not always that simple. And when I look at the Florida Panthers, they have it's very similar to Boston. The Florida Panthers have Florida Panthers. The Boston Bruins
They
have
do.
Boston Bruins. Like every single player in that system plays the same way. And
Mhm.
that is part of why they're so effective. Is there a single player on Florida that's more individually skilled than McDavid or Draisaitl? No,
No.
no. Barkov's close, but no.
I was
I
also
mean,
looking at
even then,
Boston's.
that's
Yeah,
being generous. Seeing Bark like McDavid and Draisaitl are in a league of their
they're
own,
they're different
but
players. But
Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk, they just play such a good
Mhm.
if
playoff
if
game.
I need a player, if I have a
Oh yeah,
defensive zone face-off in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, I'm rolling Barkov out there.
oh yeah,
Exactly.
100% time. Like
You
he's
know,
just such a
And
well-rounded
odds
player.
are he'll take the puck and make something happen on the other end of the ice as
Yeah,
well.
no, he's
that
he's such a
was that
well-rounded
was one of the
player.
best
It
things to
just
watch in that final was Barkov versus McDavid. What a
Yeah,
yeah,
treat! What a
it
treat
was
to
amazing.
follow. Yeah,
Speaking of
I
like Boston as well, I was looking at their lineup recently and their forward core, their bottom six, it's a similar thing where skill, if you look at individual skill,
hmm
you're going to
You
be
have a player
raising
like
a lot of
Frederick.
eyebrows, but then you just take a step back and it's like, oh, Trent, I had it open. I had it open. It was Trent Frederick, a whole bunch of other people
hmm
that I'm loading up here.
What do you guys think of This is a
Okay,
topic
here it is.
of
Here it is. It's
debate.
like Trent Frederick, Justin Brazeau, Mark Kastelik, Max Jones. That just looks awful to play against.
that
Beecher,
third line looks
John
awesome.
Beach.
They've
Yeah.
got
underratedly sick player.
If you're on the ice with any of those lines, you are coming back to the bench just battered and bruised.
No, I was
that
gonna say just quick point with the Bruins is since they have two Lindholms, they're doing it the right way, which is I personally think the way it should be done, where you don't put initial in front of the names on the jerseys, just differentiate by number.
Just
You
let
don't
players
need an
figure it
E
out.
Lindholm and H Lindholm, which Canucks were doing with the E Pedersen. Stop it.
yeah.
Stop it. Just roll two
Uh,
Pedersens out there. We can tell. One plays
yeah,
defense, one plays forward.
you
One's
can figure it out.
right-handed, one's
Can you?
left-handed, I
Like, have you
think.
seen the way
Or they might both
DPD
be left-handed.
shoots? He shoots exactly the same as Pedersen. If I was to see him shoot side
Well,
by side
he's a
without the
clone,
num,
right?
yeah,
Am I right that he's a clone? Am
it
I
seems
wrong?
like it. He
No,
looks
they don't
sim.
look alike.
No,
They
but
look
it could
pretty
be like
close.
same. It could be clone, but like
I
not
haven't
entirely
seen
the
enough
same
of
DNA, right?
DPD on the
Yeah,
ice,
it's like
but
7% PD. It just
It's
looks
like you mix
different.
some other
Shoots the
stuff in there. Like
same.
it's just like most of PD's
Yeah,
clone with like some other differences.
they say put some guy's face on it, it's different, but shoots the
I
same,
I
skates the
feel
same. I'm like, dude, it's like PD, but just better defensively.
I feel like this is our mark to hit the next topic.
yeah, I'm looking at him right now, and he's another blonde Swede. He looks like PD if PD ate gravel
Yeah,
for a living.
exactly. It's a clone genetics. It's not
There you
always
go.
perfect,
Yeah.
but Duke can lay the body. Have you seen him play? Oh my God.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
it's like every Canucks fan's wet dream watching him lay a guy out. Like,
All
yes,
right,
another good D.
now that we're on the Canucks, anyone concerned about the Demko injury? I have every single alarm in my head at
Yeah.
maximum. Injury
It's
that's never been had before by an NHL player. That doesn't
also
sound good.
as someone who's had a knee injury, now then again, I am not a superhuman freak athlete. Whenever there's someone who has a knee injury, especially if it's a rare knee injury that keeps re-aggravating, it raises so many alarm bells
Is
because
this?
yeah,
I hate to say this, but this feels like Price.
it
It was
kind
it
of
was it was
does.
it was just like this when it happened. There was not much information out there. We don't really know what's going on. Leg
Someone like
issues. He might be
Landeskog's
back.
injury
He might
too.
not. He might never be 100% again. I've
He might
heard
be ready
so
in a
many
week.
different things. I don't think so.
No,
No, he
neither do
Whenever
won't
I.
be.
whenever the information is this
That's the reporting.
disjointed and there's bad stuff coming out, good stuff coming out, I tend to lean with. I think the more realistic possibility is that I think this player has a very serious injury, and I think it's doubtful that he'll ever reach the same level of play he did again. I think he is going to play
Mhm.
again. I think it will be this season, and I think that first game that he plays, is going to answer a lot of questions
The
because
question I would have is, do you think he plays a game in 2024? Do you think he plays a game before the new year? Personally,
Um,
I have my doubts because if it's an injury that keeps aggravating like this, they now have two goalies that can, like Vancouver with their two goalies, can
yeah,
stay competitive, I think.
and like
Is and
the
they
fact that
shouldn't rush Demko.
the fact they picked up Lankinen,
Lankinen has been good as well
yeah, it
career
definitely
wise.
adds some. It definitely takes away the rush on getting Demko back 20%. Or like we got Silovs, he's done unbelievable in the preseason or postseason, sorry. And then you got
small
Lankinen, who's
sample.
improved. Yeah, but still, even then, looking at the high stress game, like very few goalies, very few
Goalies are
players
weird.
Hmm.
can keep it up. I mean, that being said, Binnington did it his first rookie year, so he's a point there. But like I said, you got Lankinen, who's a proven
Hmm.
I think the
backup.
Canucks, I agree. I think that if they miss the playoffs this year, it won't be because of the goaltending. Like they
No,
have
No.
enough talent on the roster that they'll be able to
yeah,
overcome not having an elite
Yeah.
goalie, but having like if they get average goaltending, they should be good enough for second or third in the division. No
I
problem.
think
I don't think they
Hmm.
av
win the division without Demko.
no average
Um,
goaltending and under
Yeah. Lankinen has been a
pocket
career
style.
910,
Yeah.
which is good. That's
Oh yeah.
solid. That can keep you competitive.
Yeah.
for sure. It's just this whole idea of we don't really know what's happening and slowly things come out that contradict each other and stuff. This just reminds me too much of the Price situation that was happening at first. And
Hmm.
I'm really I hope Demko's all right, but I have my doubts. It really concerns me when I hear this stuff. Like five soccer players I think I've ever had. I think it's a muscle
Yeah.
thing.
It's the
Yeah,
first
it's a
hockey player and five soccer players, and that's about it.
yeah.
I'm sure some soccer nerd could pull up. Oh, only five soccer players have had this injury. Oh, it's the blah 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 blah.
I actually found what it was, but I forget. I forget what it
It's
was.
it's
Oh
right by
wow,
the
that could have been
labia.
It's
It's
useful.
a
kind of on the
stabilizer at the back of your knee. It's a
yeah,
stabilizing muscle at the back of your knee.
yeah. It's right by the joint.
Okay, that sounds like that could either end his career or be fine.
Yeah, it sounds
That's
like if you take time,
Be
it could
okay.
either never heal properly or you
Be
just
all
take a
right.
breather and it heals perfectly.
I
It's
think
soft tissue, and soft tissue can be so weird
yeah.
sometimes and never heal properly. It's so hard to tell. Or sometimes it's just you rehab it and you keep rehabbing, and then suddenly it's stronger than ever. Especially with the
Yeah.
muscle.
Absolutely.
If he rehabs it properly, he could come back and be better because he's rehabbed it to be stronger than it was before. That's what's so weird about it. Or it could end his career. Like look at Gabriel Landeskog with his knee injury. How there's the whole thing of, oh, he could be back by this season, and now he's missed 2 straight seasons, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. I think he
And
is.
he's not playing.
I think he's on the trend for this season. I think it's pretty much been confirmed, but I mean, we'll
He
see.
hasn't been playing in the preseason though.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would play him. I think they'll give him that time to rest it up more. I think he's been skating with the team though for the
That's good.
off
But
season. But
again, that's
Yeah, that
that's
could go
a
either way.
year. That's over a year behind what they were
yeah,
hoping for.
yeah, that's
I
true.
that's the thing with the not playing preseason games is yeah, a team like Colorado, the season doesn't start till April anyway. I
Mhm.
mean, this year might be different. I think the division's gonna be a lot more competitive. Nashville loading up
Nashville looks so good.
affects things. I think Minnesota is gonna be competitive this year. I don't know if they're gonna
Same.
take a playoff spot, but they're gonna take wins. I think the Jets. I don't know if they take a step back, but I don't
I
think
think they
they're
do,
as
but they
good.
had 110 points last year. So a step back
Yeah,
could
I
be
think
like
they're
100 points,
comfortably. I think they're
105 points, and that's still
comfortably
solidly
wild
in the
card
playoffs.
at worst.
Yeah.
So that should be a really interesting story this year. I do want to move on though. You
Mhm.
mentioned the Dowdy injury before the game
Yeah.
started.
That one, so it was a play where him and a player collided along the boards and his ankle, it just went a very nasty way. There's some relief sort of on that. The Not in terms of time frame. He's probably going to be. It said that he's going to be on a month-to-month basis, so he's going to be out for a couple months at least. But he got away with it as in it's a fracture as opposed to an ankle sprain or a Achilles tear because it was his Achilles definitely got stretched a lot but didn't have any injury.
I think if it's the playoffs, I think he plays through it.
If it's the playoffs, I don't think he could play through it because it looked like his
Did
ankle
Dowdy?
got really fractured. If you're
He
out
duct
for
tapes
that
it and
for
he's out.
months, if you're out for
He's out
months,
next
it
shift.
seems like
Drew
something was
Dowdy
serious.
is a monster. That dude is not human.
Yeah.
That dude can subject his body to torment that, you know, Dante would look at that and be like, that's too much.
Mhm. In terms
Calm
of
that down a bit.
Drew Doughty, the question for time frame, it's a fractured ankle, so it'll take a couple months. There's a lot of things in the air about, oh no, he was really hoping to make the Four Seasons tournament, which he
Gives a
very
shit.
well could. I don't know. He'd be an amazing player for that. That's in February. I think that a player like this is going to be back by Christmas with like because
Mhm.
it's just a broken bone. I say it's a
Oh,
broken
for
bone
sure.
as opposed to a
I think he's
ligament
gonna be
tear.
fine. That is one of the toughest humans on this planet.
I just think about how this is going to affect LA's start to the season because he is their best defender.
Okay, yeah, you lose Dowdy, which sucks. And I
Mhm.
think that makes you worse than last year, but you just underestimate how much better they are from not having Dubois.
That's true.
I
Look
think
at
that makes a
Winnipeg
huge
last year.
difference. Holy crap, that dude, I think Washington misses the playoffs this year for sure.
Same.
He is like removing him as addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
I don't understand the obsession that he has with him. You cannot have a winning team with that man.
No, he just doesn't have the attitude for it.
He brings and Washington is a locker room that I wonder how that's going to handle that because I look at them and I think, yeah, Ovi's there and he's got some strong leadership and stuff, but he's not like a Nathan McKinnon
They also have
or like
so many young guys
if you
now. They
drink a carbonated
lost.
drink, I'm going to kill you.
They have
Like
I mean,
Backstrom's. I think Backstrom's career is basically done.
yeah.
Oshi's not playing this season. Do you think that Ovechkin, John Carlson, and Tom Wilson are enough
I mean,
to
to
counteract?
counteract
if
Because I don't
Dubois-ness.
think Ovechkin has. Yeah, I don't think he's been like the calming leader to
I do
really
like
bring
John
up young
Carlson
guys as
though.
much. John Carlson, I think, is would do
if
well.
I think what
That dude is insane.
I think what Dubois needs
Yeah,
though is an asshole of a leader. I think if there's
he
anyone who
should be
can
on
be that,
Philadelphia.
I think it
No,
will
he
be
play with
Tom
Torts
Wilson.
again.
or
He needs
Ovi can definitely
Torts.
put him in his place.
He had Torts on
He
Columbus. He
needs
hates Torts.
Torts.
He
That's
Oh
what I
needs
was
man,
to.
joking. That was the
I
joke.
know he hates Torts, but he's gonna hate what's best for him. He's one of
Yeah.
those players that the thing that he needs, he's not gonna like.
You look,
No.
he played best in Columbus.
I
But
would
the year
love.
before, then he just decided I'm not going to try anymore. Like the year that the world shut down, he was playing amazing under Torts that year actually.
I kind of want him back in the Canadian market. Not my
Mm,
team.
Edmonton, because then I can cheer for their downfall.
Exactly. Yeah. No, back to
Yeah. I
LA
just feel
though.
bad for Andrew Mangiapane because he's going to miss the
Yeah.
playoffs.
So before we go off Edmonton, who thinks they'll break the curse? Skinner or Perry? Perry hasn't missed a playoff in the last 5 years,
Oh, and
and Skinner
Skinner.
and Skinner hasn't
Okay,
made a playoff.
it's Skinner.
You think Skinner's gonna break the?
Skinner's no, it's he yeah, because Edmonton's making the playoffs next year. I don't know unless McDavid
It'd be
gets
so
injured
funny
for the entire season.
if Perry lost in the finals. Would it be a sixth time or fifth time?
Sixth time.
Yeah,
It'd be six.
Well, no, it
when
would be fifth because it would be
It was
fifth.
Dallas,
Dallas,
Montreal,
Montreal,
Montreal, Tampa
Tampa,
Bay.
Tampa,
Edmonton.
Edmonton. So it would be fifth.
I think
He
I
was
could
on.
see
I
that
think he was on
happening. I
Florida.
could see Edmonton
No,
making the final again and losing.
no, he
Perry
wasn't.
was at Tampa.
What was
He was
he?
still
What
on
was he the year
Tampa that
before?
year.
The year
He
before
was
he
still
went to
on
Edmonton?
Tampa, and
He
when
was
they
with
lost to
Dallas.
Toronto.
He was with Dallas before he was with Montreal. He was
Yeah,
with
no.
Dallas
Yeah,
in
Dallas,
2020.
Montreal, Tampa, and then he lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round on Tampa, and then Edmonton.
That sentence just fried my brain. Losing to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. That
Yeah, I
doesn't
know.
seem like something that can happen.
uh,
No, I did want to bring this back to the LA Kings. As for Doughty, I think he's probably back at least by Christmas or January, and I think the
probably.
Kings still probably comfortably make the playoffs. Someone has to lose in the first round to the Oilers. It feels like it's always them.
If they made the
That's just their
last,
destiny.
if
Although this Quinn
they,
Byfield kid is,
yeah, if they made the last
he is
wild card
sick.
spot just to match up against Edmonton, that would be.
They don't really have competition. Like I don't. I think that year that Seattle made the playoffs and beat the Avs, that was pretty cool. And
I don't think
Seattle fans,
Seattle's
I
good
love
enough.
you, but that was a fluke.
Yeah, I'm.
They
The more you
they're in
say
the
about
messy
it,
middle a bit.
the more you say it, the more I'm underestimating the effect of not having Pierre-Luc Dubois will have on a
That's
team.
true. That's true.
Because I'm still putting together my predictions here, and I think they'll be on that bubble, but maybe I'm giving some of the other teams too much credit and not giving LA enough credit for how good they are.
I mean,
Absolutely.
But we'll
one thing.
talk about this. We'll talk about this
LA,
in
hey,
our next, probably our next installment of
we
this
forget in the
podcast.
regular season, but LA gave the Canucks nightmares
Yeah,
Oh,
LA
last
was
year.
yeah, they did.
Fits. They have a system that can match up against high flying offensive teams and just
Except for Edmonton.
break them.
I
Except
mean,
for Edmonton. For some reason that just doesn't work. But I
last
It's
feel
just
like
because they're too good.
last year, LA was the second lowest goals against average team. They averaged 2.56 goals against. For a
Oh,
team with a shitty goalie, well, not a stellar goalie like the two teams above them were, that's pretty impressive to do. Like,
yeah,
that's definitely a
absolutely.
team defensively minded. Like, can't like.
hmm.
So
All
I
right.
don't know. I think.
While we're still on the top of the Pacific Division, we did want to talk about the Bouchard contract.
Oh yeah.
What do we think that's going to be? I don't see him taking a lot of money because
It's
Edmonton.
really high. Oh, it's
No,
off the screen. It's
he's
that
taking
high.
tons. He's taking all the
I
money
don't
he
Yeah.
think
can.
so. I think he's going to take a team friendly.
No, I mean,
I think
look,
McDavid's going to sit down with him and say, "Listen, if we win a cup here, you'll never have to worry about money again."
I still think it's north of $10 million though.
yeah,
Not, are you kidding? No, not a shot.
he's gonna buy
Nine.
I don't
himself out.
know. That's the thing is you look at
Okay,
some
to
other
be
players.
fair,
Makar is only making 9.5.
you're going the wrong
Picard
direction.
took
You guys are going the wrong direction here. He plays on a team with Darnell Nurse. Should he be making less than Darnell Nurse?
No,
yeah, but no, Darnell Mills should be making that amount of money.
Okay.
that doesn't matter though. He
All right.
is.
You be Darnell Nurse. You be who's Jeff Jackson would be negotiating contracts with,
Sure.
and I'll be Evan Bouchard. Hey, why am I making less than Darnell?
Well, Darnell, maybe shouldn't. Well, is maybe making more money than he should be
Give
right
me
now.
10 or I'm testing
Yeah.
UFA. Boom.
No,
That's the end of the
shit.
conversation. Yeah,
That's
I
it.
stand corrected. He's gonna make he's gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's gonna buy
What's
himself out though, because they're going to save money for what's Sam's contract, which is a couple years later. I think it's next year is
Yes.
McDavid's contract.
yeah.
Like he's gonna buy himself out. He's not. They're gonna say, "Here, let's do it. You either take this amount of money and play as McDavid again for the next couple of years, or you're off the team." Like that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah,
I
for
think he
sure.
signed. Yeah, I think that he
That's
still signs for a lot of money, but if relative to what he could make in the open market, it
yeah.
will look like a deal.
Oh
But it's
man, that
still
nurse
going to be a
contract
huge
is
amount of money. I could see
so
him like
brutal.
actually hitting like 10 on the dot, something like
Yeah.
that.
10, maybe like
Somewhere,
9.5,
yeah.
9.7.
I think it makes if you are paying Bouchard $10 million, you have to get rid of that nurse contract.
Yeah, but that's
You
it.
sell the future, you
Mhm.
sell everything, but
Yeah.
if you have okay, you're gonna have Draisaitel's making what?
Yeah, it's a
14?
terrible
13?
setup.
What, 14?
13?
Drysdale's making 14.
Yeah,
Okay,
14.
so Draisaitl's gonna make 14 next year.
McDavid's going to make like 16,
He's
McDavid's gonna
going
make
to top.
17. He's gonna
He's
17.
hit
going to the
17.
max he can make.
I don't know if he'll quite hit max, but I think he's gonna hit 17.
If anyone's
So
gonna
you
hit
got
max, it'll be
14,
McDavid.
17, 10 for Bouchard.
Then
Quick maths.
9.25 for Nurse.
Oh man.
And Hyman's
It's like $41 million. That's
what's
after
Hyman's
cap
contract?
in 3 players plus nurse.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
Hyman's
Yeah,
also coming up too.
you basically we'll call it 30 million for Connor and Leon. Worth it? Worth it. Worth it?
Yeah.
Worth it. Worth it. Easy.
Yeah.
No question about it. Worth it. And then a combined 19 million for Nurse
That's
and
true. If you're
Bouchard,
making 50,
not
if it's
worth
like
it.
50 million of your cap is between those players, that's not worth it.
Makar
Well,
makes 9.
Yeah.
I
Bouchard better
think
than Makar.
no.
No.
I think Watson's not make
Nurse makes more than Makar. Is
yeah,
Bouchard
well,
better than Nurse? Yeah, see what I mean? We can go both ways with this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely think that if you look at more of the contracts that were signed recently, like I look at like the Darlene contract, for example, and I think that I could see Bouchard getting maybe a hair under that. Is he better than Darlene? Right now, I'd say they're about the same, but Darlene will be better.
Probably.
Bouchard
Darlene's
is
better. Darlene has a lot. Well, also worth noting, Darlene is just captain of Buffalo, so he has that locker room presence.
yeah.
And Darlene is probably better better defensively.
I mean, Bouchard's got good defensive stats, but he's kind of a liability out there. A lot of his defensive stats
A
come
lot of it's
from
because of how good Ekholm is
Ekholm.
defensively.
Yeah,
I just don't
Ekholm's
think that the
defensively is
Oilers
awesome.
are a great like they did well against the Canucks in the playoffs with the defensive structure that they were playing. But I still don't think that Edmonton is an exceptionally well coached defensive team. I think
No,
there's a
I
lot of improvements that they can make on the
Well, you
defensive
saw it
side of
last
the puck.
year. They had a coach who tried to implement a smarter defensive system, and they didn't have
yeah,
They
the
don't have the
skill to
personnel
do it.
for
They
it.
couldn't do it.
Yeah,
So the coach brought in a simpler defensive system,
they still didn't win
and
the
it,
cup
it
though.
worked better. But they also, yeah, they didn't win the cup. They
Well, they
made
were
they
two
made
goals
it
away.
one goal. Yeah, that is
They
important.
didn't
Like
win though.
they made it really
yeah.
far. They played
They
very well
Yeah, I mean,
with
they
that
almost
system.
did the most insane thing ever with the reverse sweep, but they
Mhm.
I
didn't.
know. A part
And
of
if
me
you
is
play
kind
zone
of
defense, maybe you're cup champions right now.
Maybe if they'd figured out zone defense, maybe.
Like, you can't just score your way out of every situation.
no.
Sometimes there's going to be a Sergei Bobrovsky on the other side of the ice, and you're going to be like, well,
You can't play old school punching back and forth hockey.
Mhm.
At least not in this modern day game.
Right.
You have to be.
Yeah.
for sure. So, numbers, I'm going to say Bouchard gets 7 by 9.
I thought you were about to say 7 million. I'm like, are you insane?
7 years, 9 million. I think
I
that
can.
I don't know why I feel he's getting 10. I don't think it's
I
a smart idea for the team to sign him to that, but I have a sensation he's gonna get
yeah.
like
I think
but it's
they
gonna
get
be
10.
like 10 by 5, something like that.
I can see him getting 10.5 for 8
I don't know
years.
why. This is
yeah,
a
if it's
really
going to be
weird.
10, it's going to be 8
No, it
years.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
they'll
would
try.
be.
You
It
gotta
They'll
would
have
give
the
him
be.
the
extra year to
years.
lower the AAV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
or I guess
Um,
the AAV is 10. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Maybe like 10 by 6. I don't know.
All right, those are some good guesses. We'll come back to this, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll look like idiots when he signs for $4 million in five
I know.
years, and Oilers dynasty or some stupid shit like that.
He's gonna
Exactly.
take
We
the
got some preseason to talk about.
yeah.
Buffalo's been pretty good in the preseason.
Buffalo has been
You
pretty
know how
good.
hard those German hockey teams are to beat, am I right?
You know how, yeah, they've been playing against all these top tier cup
Yeah,
contending teams like Pittsburgh Penguins, the Ottawa Senators, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and
real hard run they had there.
the Munich hockey team.
Is
Sorry, let
JJ
me just
Peterka better than
Red
McDavid?
Bull.
Red Bull Munich.
Yeah.
And JJ Peterka has been really good.
Oh, he's
Maybe
gonna
I
be
give
good this
him
year.
too much credit
I'm
because he was really good for my fantasy team last year.
Buffalo's an
He's a
enigma.
player I could see scoring like 40 goals this year. He was at like 28 last year.
Even last year, you look at their roster and you're like, how are they bad? They
Yeah.
shouldn't be bad. Why are they
Their
bad?
defense looks insane.
Right? Got Power, Darlene, Byram, all on one ice. I don't know. Like every year we look at them and we go, oh, they're gonna take a stab. They should be wild card
It
conversation
won't
for
load,
sure,
but you
and
can
they
see
aren't.
all these names here. I look at this
Okay.
defensive core with
I think the
Darlene,
case.
Yoki Haru, Byram, Power, Samuelson, Clifton. That's an insane defensive core. And their forward group also, it has a lot of young guys who they need to take a step forward still. But there's
Dylan
so much
Cousins
potential
needs to
here.
have a big year. I thought he was a little disappointing last year. I had him in fantasy and I dropped him eventually. He just
Was that Tucker Thompson you
you
said?
look at him, you watch him play, and you think, damn, this player has it.
Yeah.
Points aren't there though, really. Like
Yeah.
Jack Quinn is intriguing too. I think he's gonna be good.
He's a
Mhm.
fun
He
little
was
guy to watch
very
play.
highly regarded in his draft year.
Mhm.
He's fun to watch.
That
He's
fourth
he's
line-
smaller,
top
but
line is gonna be mean.
That
Oh,
fourth
man.
line's going to be fun with Malenstein, Lafferty, and Abe Kubel as well. They're just
Yeah.
going
Oh
to
yeah.
be a
Oh
wrecking
yeah.
ball line.
Great fourth line players.
So much energy
Third
with those
line,
players.
third line's good enough. I like Zucker. I like him on
McLeod's
that third
good. He's
line.
really
Yeah.
fast. Greenway's really like that line is maybe apart from Zucker, McLeod and Greenway are both
Second
so
line's
fast.
small though.
Dylan Cousins is not small. Dylan
Okay.
Cousins is big.
He's not big.
He's a
He
big
plays
player.
big.
He's average.
He plays
Yeah.
big. Like
He's average size, but he
what,
plays big.
6 feet tall?
Yeah, I think he's 6 foot.
But he plays like a monster.
Mhm.
But he's still like he's not Tage Thompson. He's not Alex
No,
Stalock.
he's not Tage Thompson, 8 foot tall, big.
Yeah. Benson's tiny.
Pretty
though.
tiny.
That dude,
The
he's
ones-
gonna get
Maybe
swapped
they
with
swap around Greenway with Quinn for a bit at some point just to have some more size in that line.
I think. Well, look at the Atlantic, man. You got some scary freaking teams that you're gonna be matched up against.
Well, we
You know what
looked
I mean?
at
Like,
the
you got-
Boston
okay.
roster before.
Yeah, exactly. Boston, Buffalo. You got Benson, Cousins, and Quinn trying to get in the zone versus Zadorov. You know,
Yeah.
That's
Zadorov and like Brandon Carlo end up on a shift together.
yeah.
And you're just, that's a
McAvoy,
wall.
like, oh, yuck.
I mean, the one thing I'll add on is that there's a lot of these guys on that Buffalo team who aren't great injury wise. Like Tuck's pretty injury prone.
Mm-hmm.
Greenway's really injury prone.
Well, okay.
Quinn,
What do you mean when you say injury prone? Like, do you
I don't
think
know.
that the
I don't
injuries that they've
see-
had could be recurring, or do you think they're flukes?
I think a lot of them it's stuff which they just don't protect themselves well enough. Like Greenway has a
Right.
couple of concussions where he just kind of puts himself.
Bad spots on the ice.
Yeah, Greenway
Yeah.
does have concussion history where he shouldn't have put himself in that position.
Yeah, and for a
I don't
big
know
guy,
I don't know if I feel the same way. I feel like there aren't any players there that I see keep getting injured over and over again.
well, I mean, Quinn got injured his second year there, so I mean, he doesn't have the years behind him to put it there, but he's not a big guy. And he
Mhm.
does kind of, which I mean, no.
I
You have to
mean-
wait and see. He's 1 for 1. He's 1 for 2 right now.
You can only win the games in front of you, and well,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the Sabres have done that. Do you guys think they're gonna have a good start to the season this year, or do you think it'll be like years past where there's all this hype going in? They look good,
I think they have a
and
good
then it
start.
falls off a cliff.
I think they
it'll
have a
be
good
like
start. It's just if they can continue
They
it.
always seem to have a good October,
Mhm.
and then November, December hit, and it just
the
Yeah.
wheels
falls
fall off.
apart.
I feel they can carry a good start for longer this season. I think it's the
I think it
Once
depends
you
on
hit-
coaching.
once you hit like December, January, February, I think that's where they might run into some trouble.
But
Absolutely. I think it comes down to coaching and confidence. What do you think,
Mm.
Logan?
what's really changed from the, like offensively or defensively for that matter? Like
Well, okay, you can
I don't
never
think there's been a
discount
huge
growth
change.
of young
Yeah, it's
players,
true.
Defensively,
right?
you have Dahlin's getting better, Owen Power's getting better, Samuelson's getting
Yeah.
better, Byram is getting better. Defensively,
And not only is that huge defensively, but that's huge for the forwards as well, because that means they're gonna get the
yeah.
puck up the ice quicker. They're gonna
Yeah.
have the
Also,
puck more.
it's worth noting, even though he had a bad start last year, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen had one of the best save percentages in the NHL
Oh,
last
he's a
year.
good
Yeah.
goalie.
He's really good, and
People who
then
don't watch don't know, but
he's not even their top projected prospect for goaltending, which is
this
Devin
is what I'm
Levi,
saying. You look at them,
I'm
and
you look at
he's
their
been
roster
playing
on
out of his
paper,
mind.
you rationalize it, and you look at Buffalo and you say, how are they bad? And every single year they're bad.
And
I
mostly
have
it's
them
just
finishing last
been
in the Atlantic this year. I don't. If you ask me and say, "Hey, how do you see them?" I don't have an answer other than they're Buffalo.
other than they mentally seem to psych themselves out of it every year. They seem to fall apart, and it's not because of their talent. It often does seem to be that they aren't coached well
Like
enough
I think
and their
last
system
in the
doesn't
Atlantic
work.
is going to
you
be
think it's
between Buffalo, Ottawa, and Montreal and Detroit.
I think
But
Detroit
I
could be in there
think
too. I don't
Detroit.
like
I think I
Detroit's.
I just I don't know. I
I
think
I
think
looked at
Detroit.
it. I like their depth a bit better now. I don't like their defense at all.
I
I'm
think
not so
Detroit's
confident in their
closer to the
goaltending.
team that was in a wild card spot than they're the team that threw everything away and choked and flamed out at the end of the season and just played like
Yeah,
shit. I think they're. I don't think that's really who they are.
I don't trust their goaltending though. Talking about injury prone, Ville Husso is someone I would consider because it seems like in the past 3 seasons he's
yeah.
missed significant time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I
For
don't know
sure.
if Alex Lyon can continue to catch lightning in a bottle.
I think
Oh, there's
And
Talbot.
questions on all these teams, but my question to you is, why do you think this year Buffalo is going to take a step and be in the conversation for a playoff spot
I don't think they're going to make the
or in one?
playoffs. I think they're going to get better. I just don't think they're going to be.
Who?
When I'm looking at the entirety of the Eastern Conference, I have a really hard time, except for the team in very last. I have a really hard time mixing around these teams because I feel like there's a lot of teams that either are just slipping out of their playoff window or just getting close to the playoff window that are in such a mosh pit right now.
For
And I
sure.
do, yeah,
I think if you changed it from divisional playoffs to 1 to 8, I think you can see a completely different set of teams come out of the East this
Yeah.
year. I think the Atlantic is such a stronger division.
you could see like six out of the Atlantic possibly with that
Yeah,
happening.
that wouldn't surprise me
I,
if 1 to 8 in the conference, six Atlantic teams, two Metro teams. Like in the Metro, you got New York, who's sick, and Carolina, who's good, and New Jersey, who should bounce back. And beyond
New
that,
Jersey, I
a
think is going to be
whole
really
lot of
good this
mid,
year.
a lot of mid.
Yeah.
I don't think the Caps are good. I don't think the Penguins are good. Sorry, Crosby, but I love you, man, but
No,
the rest of the team just doesn't have it.
they're
And the
falling down.
Islanders are perpetually mid.
They're
Them and the
perpetually they're
Wild are like
perpetually in a wild,
you
either
could
just in a
define
wild
mid.
card or just out of a wild card. The Islanders.
They're so consistently
They're so
almost good.
consistently barely in the playoffs or barely out of the playoffs.
So like a team, for example, like let's say like Ottawa, for example, I could see them finishing ahead of the Islanders.
I actually
Yeah,
auto making it, to be honest. I feel
you
like
could see.
I could totally see them making it.
Yeah,
I don't think they will. I'd prefer if they didn't,
I don't think they will. I don't think Ottawa will.
I think there's
but I think they can.
I think they have
Montreal has so much offensive firepower. They could take a
Oh my
step
God.
and
If they, well,
contend.
if all their players don't die of injury,
Yeah.
like we don't really, that's the thing is we haven't like people are like, oh, they're bad. But you look at the seasons, we've never actually been able to evaluate what they
No.
are because they've always been hurt. And it's like, okay, is your identity just being hurt all the time? Is that what they are as a team? I don't know. I really hope
yes.
not. But until they have a season, yeah, exactly. Until they have a season where their players are healthy, we don't really know unless they just keep getting hurt. Then we know, okay, they're the hurt team. That's what they've been.
I mean, you guys did just take Line A, who is also perpetually hurt. So it's not
Right?
really
What
helping
is
your
up with these
case.
guys? You no, but
Yeah.
you were talking about earlier. You're talking about injury prone players and generally
I
you
would
think of the
say I would
smaller
say
guys
Line
being
A is
injury
someone
prone.
who keeps getting similar.
You got
Line
I
Line
A,
feel
who's
like
six
he's
five.
Line A I
Caulfield.
feel
You
has
got
had
Doc who's
multiple
6'4".
Line has had
Big
multiple
guys
wrist
keep
Line has
getting
had
hurt.
multiple wrist injuries and multiple concussion ones. It's like they have been directly into like it's mostly been those. So that's what I would qualify as reoccurring.
Caulfield's not injury prone. I don't know what you're talking about
No.
there. That dude, have you watched him? Like he goes
No,
for hits on guys on the boards, and it's
it's
funny because
so
he like
funny.
he
He's
skates like
tiny.
he gets them. Like he hit
Yeah,
Myers like last year pretty hard and just paced him on the wall. It's like, what is this
it's
guy?
hilarious.
I love him. He's the best. Like he's how I wish like every tiny player would play. Like you don't always see tiny guys like just trying to
Him,
hit guys and cause turnovers at the puck. But
him, Gallagher, and
oh
Garland
yeah,
are my
oh yeah,
favorite three guys to watch because like you watch,
they're
I,
tiny
wa-
and they
I
just
watch Garland and then you
hustle.
see him just
Yeah,
being a pain in the ass, and you
this
I
is
see
why.
love I love Garland.
Garland
Oh
and
man.
Joshua pairing is awesome because you see Garland out there being an asshole,
Yeah,
and the moment the guy gets up to hit him, you see Joshua coming afterwards, like fuck.
this is why I loved it last year when Kadri and Pospisil played together.
Yeah.
Because Pospisil isn't a small guy, so I won't say he doesn't have that, but I love how he just is so aggravating against everyone. There's a game against the Rangers where he just decided to go and lay out Panarin with a hit,
hmm
and he
hmm
didn't fight anyone. Like I think Truba wasn't on the. He was like standing up to some of the people. Like Truba, like what? You think I'm not going to hit him because he's a star? I don't care. I'm
Oh,
going to
for
hit
sure.
anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, another little guy I look forward to watching this year is Zach Benson.
Mhm.
but
He's
he's
so
Oh,
skilled.
I
he's
want
good.
to
Like,
shout out one of my favorite players who fought was 5'4" Nathan Gervey.
oh
Oh
Who
yes,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he fought like it was a fight with Travis Sanheim, I remember, who's like 6'5", and he just pounced on him. And they just dropped the gloves, and the announcer's
Yeah.
like, "What? Nathan Gerby's in a fight? Oh my gosh, Nathan Gerby's won the fight within a span
I
of like
mean
3 seconds. He just jumped on him and just decked him. It was hilarious.
in Sanham's defense, it's hard to punch down that low. That's like 13 inches to
It
punching
is, but
down.
when you're a
Like
foot taller than the other guy,
the guy's punching waist height at that point. When you're 13 inches taller, that's
it
Also,
definitely
is.
below the
Kirby's
belt.
Kirby's fighting for his actual life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like there's a lot higher motivation from his point
yeah,
of view. Like, I might die here if I
yeah.
get it wrong. Versus he's like, what the fuck? Why is this Chihuahua
I
attacking me?
think it was also maybe a situation where Sanheim got challenged and maybe Sanheim hit someone
Mhm.
and he heard, "Oh yeah, let's drop the gloves." So he's like, "Okay." And there's the moment of shock where he's like, "Wait, am I just dropping the gloves with Nathan Gerby?" And
No,
then a
it's
second later, did
definitely
I just lose a fight to Nathan Gerby?
no. Sanham
Right?
definitely turned around to fight somebody and didn't see anyone there. I was like, "What the hell? Who am I
Like, what's
fighting?"
going? What the?
And then he
And
gets
then just
punched
got
out. You're like,
jumped on.
"Yeah,
He just got mugged.
that's definitely what happened there."
What else have we got to hit here? How many more points? Because I think we're running on time a bit.
We can talk about Yakimchuk. Um, Player that I remember when he was drafted, Sens fans were like, "Are you fucking kidding me? A defenseman, this guy, that guy." He's looked awesome.
He's looked
I've
amazing.
watched a couple of Senators preseason games, and every time I see him, I'm like, that is a player he's gonna be an NHLer, and I think he's gonna be a good one.
Just the
Corey
way
Cronman, I know, is huge on him.
he makes
Uh,
these just so many power moves with
Confidence.
no
Yeah,
fear. He's just so confident
he's a
he can
very
beat any
confident player.
defender, and then he
He's
does.
fast.
Yeah.
He uses his gaps well. No, he's a player that I'm looking forward to watching for sure. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Do you
Torts
want
and
to talk about
Michkov.
how
It's
Daniel
gonna be interesting.
Sprong
Daniel
absolutely
Sprong, all that goal was sick.
destroyed
People are saying
the
every
entirety
year
of the Calgary
he does
Flames?
something like that, and it's like, who is this guy? How is he
I
not
think
like
I think
stuck
the
on a
reason
roster?
I heard the reason is usually his he just
He's
often doesn't get along with other players and the coach. It's also
I
Oh
he's the
well,
a funny stat. He's the only ever player from the Netherlands to I think I can't remember if it's I know he's not the only active player, but he might be the only ever
ever
player
player.
to play in the NHL from the Netherlands.
yeah.
I think he is.
Dale Weiss, Dutch Gretzky.
What?
Pretty sure
I don't
Dale
think Dale.
Weiss.
I think Dale Weiss. I don't think he was actually from Netherlands though. It might just be active player.
Um,
It might just be
yeah,
active player.
he's born in Winnipeg. I think his
Dale
parents
Weiss.
were. Yeah,
Anyways,
Dale Weiss was born in Canada.
Yeah.
no,
Um,
he's going to be good for. He's just always a clutch goal scorer.
for sure. No,
You want to
I
talk
want to
about
touch on
Torts and Mishkov?
Torts and Mishkov. I think this is gonna be a fun storyline this season.
Oh yeah.
I liked Torts' comments today where he's basically saying like our fans and us are dying for a player with his skill.
Hmm.
That's exactly what you want to hear from the coach there because
Yeah.
people are wondering like, is he gonna let him be him? If like
I wonder
Mishkov
if this
goes
is a
for Michigan,
sign.
is Torts gonna tell him to stop it?
I wonder
A
if this
lot
is
of
a sign of a coach understand like with a bit of an understanding of what's at stake because he's hearing all this background noise from the fan base of, oh, how is this coach going to deal with this player? Is he going to play him? Is he going to be angry about it?
I think he's just also
And
sick of not having a guy like
yeah,
that, like a
I
elite skilled offensive player.
I think if you have Torts understand like, hey, I just need to let this guy do his thing.
Yeah,
If
well,
I try to stop him, I'm going to be out of this. I'm going to lose my job in a heartbeat. I
yeah.
think he realizes that as well because he's already been in Philadelphia for a few years.
I just think Mitch fits in with his style. Like, if you see him play, he's a big boy who puts
Mhm.
himself in there. Like that's
Hmm,
definitely the
hmm.
style that
A lot of hustle,
Torch
yeah.
loves. Like, and he's physical. Like you see him go
Yeah.
Yeah.
behind the net.
He
He's a
causes turnovers, he
he's
bangs and crashes. He's a
Mhm.
like
shark on the ice for
he's
sure.
not tall, but he's built like a minifish. Like dude will
Yep,
stand you
yep,
up,
Mhm.
and that's the
for sure.
exact player that Torch loves to have on his team.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're gonna get along well.
It
He
looks like
still does
Mitchkov gives it every
so
shot.
much stuff different than like the typical hockey player, like the right way you're supposed to do. Like you watch Mitchov skate, and it's like
Oh yeah.
he's fast and he's deceptive, but that's not how skating coaches are teaching
No,
players to skate.
he's fighting
No.
the ice. He's
Yeah,
like
He
DK
skates like he
Metcalf, and I
hates the
found
ice.
yeah, he skates like he has a grudge against the ice. He hates
hmm.
that
Oh
shit.
yeah, and it's not efficient at all, but it can be deceptive, and it can make a defender, second guess exactly. Are you going to try
And
to cut on the inside? Or are you going to go around? Like, what are you doing?
and if you get hit
Like,
by a guy skating like that, you get laid out. Like that's a
oh,
guy
for
who's
sure.
gonna put all that pressure he's pushing off the ground into your
No,
body.
here's the thing, is I think it's easy. I think it's easy before the season starts. I think it's even easy if the Flyers are winning. But when the Flyers meet adversity and they start losing games and shit hits the fan, that's when it'll be interesting.
When you
You
have a
know?
player who can go get that clutch goal to take him out of a slump.
Or if Michkov goes and he's on the power play, it's the third period, and the Flyers are up by a goal, and he makes a turnover at the blue line, and then
That's true
causes
as
a rush
well.
chance the other way. Like, does Torts bench him? So it's gonna be so interesting to watch this year. I think
Mhm.
that
How many
I think
games
that
does he get
right
healthy
now,
scratched?
I think that it looks good. Exactly. But I think it's easy. It's easy before the season starts to say the right things and to
Yeah.
do all the things that the fans want you to
Mhm.
do. But when adversity hits, when you've lost 4 games in a row,
When losing a game means something.
exactly.
I
Um,
think yeah. It
that's
also
yeah, that's when
depends.
we'll be able to evaluate.
A lot of it
Um,
depends also on the way like, the penalties. Like, if it's a lot of his fault, oh dude, you know he's gonna get it. But
You know he'll
I
be
think
held accountable.
yeah, that's the way Torts is. I mean,
and
he's
I
been that
think
way his whole career. He's always been like, if you did some
people
dumb shit, you're gonna be held accountable for
for
that.
sure, for sure, and people have been critical of Mitchkov's personality and stuff, but I think that if Torts benches him or something like that. Like I think Michkov's gonna respect
I
Torts.
mean, he's
Like
a
I don't think
Russian.
he's gonna look
Mhm.
at that guy and be like, you can't tell me what to do.
No,
Like,
he's a Russian
Probably.
who's coming in. He's definitely a guy who's used to asshole coaches.
mm-hmm,
Like,
Yeah.
and
mm-hmm,
that's kind of the Russian style, and it works well for them. So
mm-hmm.
I can definitely see him
I could
doing
see it
But
well.
working.
does it hit the same when it's in English?
I mean,
I guess
a
we'll
Right?
lot
find
of
There's a
out.
lot of factors here. Anyways,
This is why we play the games.
yeah, for sure. Fantilli got a hat trick. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
I
Is he
love
better
that.
than
I love
Bedard?
that for the Blue Jackets. Oh, for
No.
sure.
Yeah. Where's
Fancy's
Bedard's hat
washed.
trick?
Adam Fantilli, #1
yeah.
overall in a redraft. No, I like to see him do well. I
I like
really
to see it for Columbus as well. It's
I
nice
think
to see them
everyone's kind
have
of
a
rooting for
player
them
doing
this year.
well.
They've been so miserable for so long and just
Yeah,
tragedy struck and just everyone just wants to see like just a turnaround of just the energy and something
exactly.
positive for them in the city. And I think Fantilli's gonna bring that all year long. Like
Hmm.
you can't like it was we were always knew it was gonna take a minute
They
for
need
him
that
to obviously
spark of
grow
hope.
into his body and get used
Hmm.
to the league and the speed and all that. But once he's there, like you can't mess up Fantilli. He's gonna be a rock star for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff with Columbus this year. I'm excited to see how Voronkov does. I thought he was a player that basically like people don't really pay attention to like the not star players on depth or dumpster teams, but there's some intriguing depth in Columbus. There's some intriguing vets that I think are still really good. Like
Hmm.
Jenner's still with Columbus, right?
Boone Jenner is still playing.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You think he gets traded, Boone Jenner?
No,
No.
no. You can't. You need him there for
Yeah.
leadership and for the team. And like I think he is the Blue Jackets at this point. Like I don't think he gets traded.
That's
I think I
all-star
think what
Blue
he
Moon
brings
Jenner
is
for you.
yeah, I think is what he brings in leadership. And yeah, exactly. Someone's got to go to the All-Star game. Actually, I think it'd be
Mhm.
Fantilli.
Yeah.
Probably this season, Fantilli.
It'd
Or
probably
Kent
be
Johnson
Fantilli.
maybe.
Maybe Kent
Yeah,
Johnson.
Johnson's good. Um,
Tranikov. There's a bunch of good
yeah,
rookies actually.
If Werenski's
Tranikov.
not
Tranikov.
if Werenski's not hurt, he could go.
Yeah, Werenski.
Yeah,
That's a big if.
Yeah.
I think dude's always
yeah,
injured come that time of year.
Hmm.
yeah. No, I think the Metro is. I think there's room if the Blue Jackets have a good start and see a lot of growth from players. I don't think they finish last in the Metro. Like, there's definitely wins that they can take from other teams, and I think the floor for a lot of these Metro teams is a lot lower than people think. Like we're not that far removed from Philly being a dumpster fire franchise. Like memory's short. They really erased a lot of that last year, but the year before, a lot of people had them finishing last in the league. Like
Hmm.
before last season started, people were not high on Philly, and they did well. Pittsburgh, one of these days, like it's gonna get ugly.
It's gonna get
Father
really
time, father
ugly
time
really
comes for
soon.
us all.
They have no prospects right now.
I think it's gonna hit Gino pretty hard before it hits Crosby. I think it's gonna hit Letang pretty hard before it hits
Hmm.
Crosby. They're
It's
the worst
already
team in the league,
it's
and
already
it's
hitting Letang. Letang has had 2 strokes.
Yeah.
I have
at
no
that point
idea. I have
when I
no
when I hear
idea
that,
how
I'm
he's
just like,
still
hang him up,
playing.
man. Just hang
Like
him up.
that's
You
like
had an
that's
amazing career. You had a career a
yeah.
lot of guys would die for. Just
Because it
worry
was
about your
last
health.
December that he had one,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he still played in like February. I
Yeah,
think he only missed like a month, which seemed insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
that's a
Mhm.
just deadly turnaround time. Some of these guys, it's like, I know you don't want to you want to hang on to the glory days, you want to hang all that stuff, but just for
But
your
you're
own
getting
health,
so many signs.
yeah, like you have most of your life left to live.
Hmm.
Like you can be a millionaire in your late 30s. Letang, 3-time Stanley Cup champion. Like when I hear about those strokes, that's just like,
Yeah,
you know, we all have our own human bodies.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
but
Anyways, I think we're going on a
he's a
bit late
warrior.
here. I don't know how many more
Time to
topics we
wrap
want
it
to
up.
hit. Maybe it might be time to save those for our next one.
No, actually, we hit on everything I wanted to hit today,
Hey, we're
except
good.
for the Habs goalies, who were pretty good for the first couple of games,
That's pretty
forced a couple
good. We
shutouts.
can
So it's pretty good.
back.
Their goaltending is gonna need if they're gonna be competitive at all this year. Their goaltending has to be elite.
It
They had
does.
good save percentage last year, Montembeault, Primo. They don't have the three goalie thing going on, which kind of mess with everything. It's hard
Hmm.
for a goalie to get into rhythm when they're not getting regular starts, and they kind of had that going on. So Montembeault, Primo should be interesting this year, but it was nice to see them. Now there were a lot of shots, specifically in the Leafs game. I think it was 17-34 the shots where the Leafs
Yep.
had their full roster and the Canadians had, a bunch of guys they're trying to evaluate. But
Minus Matthews.
goaltending speaks for itself.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. So it should be interesting this year. Like I say, goalies are voodoo, and you can never really know. But I think that's a factor that it can sink a team. And it can elevate a team, and you never really know. Some goalies just come out of nowhere and are super hot. Some goalies come out of nowhere and just destroy a team's playoff hopes. Like I look at Skinner at Edmonton, and I think, he was really good last year. Is he going to be really good again this year? Is he going to, maybe be
you
able
never
to
know.
let a few more in? That's one of the best parts of hockey as a sport is
I
just
love it.
how unpredictable it can be. So is that a wrap,
Yeah,
gentlemen?
I think yeah. Thanks everyone
Fire the
for
X drop,
watching here. If you liked what you heard, drop a
like and
like,
subscribe.
maybe a comment, tell everyone else how much you loved it. Subscribe. We're trying to get monetized. Share with your friends.
Couldn't have said it better myself.